Imagine this. You're at a flea market, sifting through a jar of old change, and there it is, a simple Jefferson nickel. But what if I told you that very same coin in your hand could be worth more than your house? Even more than your retirement savings? Yes, some Jefferson nickels are fetching hundreds of thousands of dollars at auction, and the stories behind them will leave you speechless. Today, we're diving into the top 10 Jefferson nickels that turned pocket change into small fortunes. Each coin has a shocking twist, a hidden detail, or a minting error that makes collectors fight tooth and nail to own it. Trust me, you won't believe how valuable these nickels can be, and by the end, you'll be checking every coin in your pocket. So buckle in, because this countdown is about to take you on a wild ride through history, mystery, and jaw-dropping values. And before we dive into number 10, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss another story of hidden treasure hiding right in plain sight. First up, we have the 1977 Jefferson nickel from the Denver Mint. And let me tell you, this is one of those coins that hides in plain sight. At first glance, it looks like any other nickel you'd see in your change, worn from years of use, with Jefferson's portrait smoothed out a little from circulation. But here's the shocking truth. In the world of coin collecting, even a 1977D nickel in ordinary circulated condition has the potential to unlock stories, surprises, and in the rarest cases staggering values. Now, let's set the scene. In 1977, the U.S. Mint produced hundreds of millions of these nickels. Most of them were used, spent, and forgotten, just like the one you might spot today in your pocket change. In average circulated condition, it's only worth face value, 5 cents. Nothing special, right? But here's where things get interesting. Collectors pay very close attention to strike quality, luster, and hidden mint errors. And some 1977D nickels have shocked the collecting world. Let's talk about condition first. Circulated examples usually show heavy wear. Jefferson's cheekbones are flat, the hair detail is faint, and Monticello's steps on the reverse are nearly gone. But even in this condition, some collectors will pay a premium if the coin has minimal scratches or an attractive patina. We're talking maybe a few dollars. But the story changes drastically when we jump to higher grades, and circulated examples of the 1977D nickel, especially those graded mint state 66 or 67, are extremely rare. These are coins that somehow escaped the grind of circulation. No vending machines, no coin jars, no scratches. They shine with full mint luster, like the day they left the press. Collectors have paid well over $5,000 for superb examples, and the hunt for a flawless 1977D nickel never stops. But here's where the jaw-dropping value kicks in. Full-step nickels from 1977 are virtually legendary. Full steps means you can clearly count all 6 steps on Monticello, without any breaks or flattening. Most coins from this year were poorly struck. So finding a full step 1977D is like finding a needle in a haystack. When one of these rare gems shows up at auction, prices skyrocket into 6 figures. One pristine, full step 1977D has been estimated at values climbing over $300,000. Yes, $300,000 for a nickel that looks common to everyone else. And it doesn't stop there. Some of the most shocking discoveries have come from error coins. Imagine a 1977D nickel struck off center, with Jefferson's face sliding off the edge. Or a dramatic double die error, where the date and lettering appear doubled and bold. Even more dramatic are wrong planchet errors, nickels accidentally struck on pennies, dimes, or foreign coin blanks. These bizarre mistakes can command tens of thousands of dollars, with the rarest examples pushing that same 6-figure mark. Think about it. A nickel minted in 1977, year many of us remember vividly, could be hiding unbelievable value. A coin you once dropped in a payphone or handed to a cashier could now be a treasure worth more than a brand new luxury car. That's the thrill of coin collecting. The ordinary suddenly becomes extraordinary. So the next time you get change back and see a dull 1977D nickel, don't ignore it. Take a closer look. Check Jefferson's details, check the steps on Monticello, and inspect for errors. You never know, you might be holding a coin that collectors would battle fiercely to own. And here's the wild part. This is just number 10 on our list. If a circulated 1977D nickel can hide secrets worth hundreds of thousands, just wait until you see what's coming next. The nickels further down this list will leave you absolutely stunned. Moving on to the next Jefferson nickel, and trust me, the values only get crazier from here. Next up, we have the 2002D Jefferson nickel, and this one is a real sleeper. Most people glance at a coin from 2002 and think, oh, that's too new to be worth anything. But here's where the story takes a jaw-dropping turn. This ordinary-looking Denver mint nickel, even in circulated condition, has been known to shock collectors with values you would never expect from a coin minted just over 2 decades ago. Let's start with the basics. In 2002, the Denver Mint struck over 450 million nickels. That's nearly 500 million coins. With numbers that high, you'd think there couldn't possibly be anything rare about it. And in worn, circulated condition, the kind you might find rattling around in your car's cup holder, it's usually worth just 5 cents. But here's the catch. Certain details, errors, and high-grade survivors make the 2002D one of the most surprising Jefferson nickels in modern times. Collectors. Price condition. And most nickels from this year were heavily circulated, showing flattening on Jefferson's cheek, worn lettering, and little or no detail on Monticello's steps. But the rare few that survived in pristine and circulated condition have taken on a legendary status. High-grade examples graded mint state 67 with full mint luster have sold for over $7,000, and when you bump that up to full steps, the numbers turn shocking. That's right, the full step designation is the golden ticket. Almost no 2002D nickels show sharp, complete steps on Monticello, because the dies used at the Denver Mint that year were often weak. When one surfaces with perfect steps, collectors go into a frenzy. Auctions have seen these nickels climb towards 6-figure territory, with experts estimating that a flawless full step 2002D could break the $300,000 mark if the right bidders get involved. Imagine that a coin minted in the 2000s commanding values that rival classic 19th century rarities. And then there are the errors. Some 2002D nickels slipped out of the mint with incredible mistakes, struck through grease errors where parts of the design vanish, off-center strikes where Jefferson's portrait is pushed halfway off the coin, even wild double die reverses, where the lettering of Monticello looks doubled and ghostly. These kinds of mistakes make collectors' hearts race, because they're not just rare, they're unique. Some of these dramatic errors have sold for tens of thousands of dollars, and the most eye-catching ones push into that 6-figure range. So how does a modern coin like the 2002D reach such crazy values? The answer is simple: rarity. Where it matters. Out of hundreds of millions minted, only a microscopic fraction survived with flawless strikes, uncirculated surfaces, or dramatic errors. And when collectors realize how few exist, the bidding wars explode. That's when the price tag jumps from a few $100s into life-changing money. Now, think about this for a second. The 2002D Jefferson nickel is younger than many of us watching this video. It's modern, it's common, or so it seems. Yet in the right condition, with the right details, it could be worth more than a house. That's the thrill of coin hunting. You never know when the nickel in your hand might actually be a treasure hiding in plain sight. So don't ever overlook a 2002D. Check those Monticello steps. Look closely for unusual errors. That ordinary coin in your pocket might just be worth a fortune. And remember, we're only just getting started. If a 2002D nickel can reach into 6 figures, wait until you see what's coming next. The values only climb higher, and the stories only get crazier. Before we move on, don't forget to hit that subscribe button because you do not want to miss the next unbelievable Jefferson nickel on our list. Moving on, we come to the 1996p Jefferson nickel, and this one is a real wolf in sheep's clothing. To most people, it looks like just another pocket change coin from the mid-90s. Smooth, a little worn, Jefferson's cheek flattened, Monticello's steps nearly gone, nothing special, right? But don't let that fool you. The 1996p has shocked collectors time and time again, with values that push into the six-figure range, and the reasons behind it are nothing short of fascinating. Now here's the setup. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 829 million nickels in 1996. Yes, nearly a billion coins. With numbers that high, you'd expect every one of them to be as common as dirt. But the devil is in the details. And as coin collectors know, rarity isn't always about how many were minted. It's about how many survived in pristine condition, how many carry dramatic errors, and how many show that elusive full steps strike on Monticello. In circulated condition, the kind you'll see most often, a 1996p is worth a nickel, maybe a quarter or 50 cents to the right buyer. But climb up into mint state, and things change. A sharp, shiny example with no scratches and strong luster can be worth hundreds. In the very top mint state grades Ms. 67 or higher, the price tag explodes, with collectors paying $10,000 or more just to land one of these nearly flawless coins. But here's where the real shocker comes in. A true full-step 1996p Jefferson nickel is one of the holy grails for modern nickel collectors. The dies used at Philadelphia in the mid-90s were notorious for weak strikes, which means most coins came out with mushy details. But when one slips through the presses with razor-sharp lines on Monticello's steps, it transforms from a pocket coin into a treasure. At auction, these rarities have been whispered about in hushed tones, with experts suggesting that a perfect full-step 1996p in gem and circulated condition could hit values upwards of $350,000. Imagine that a coin you might have dropped into a soda machine back in the 90s could now pay for a luxury home. And then, of course, we can't forget the errors. The 1996p is known for some absolutely wild mistakes. Off-center strikes, double dies, where the date and lettering jump right off the coin, and even rare planchet errors, where nickels were struck on the wrong metal. Some of these unique errors are one of a kind, and when they surface, they spark bidding wars that shoot into the tens of thousands. Collectors will do anything to own a mistake that nobody else in the world has. Think about it. This was the era of payphones, pagers, and dial-up internet. Millions of us handled these very coins without a second thought. But if you tucked away a sharp and circulated 1996p with full steps, or a dramatic mint error, today, it could be worth more than your retirement account. That's the wild thrill of coin collecting. Everyday change suddenly turns into life-changing treasure. So here's the bottom line. Never underestimate a 1996p Jefferson nickel. Whether it's a sharp uncirculated coin, a flawless full-step strike, or a dramatic minting error, the values are enough to leave you speechless. And remember, this is only one stop on our countdown. If the 1996p can shock the market with prices in the $300,000 plus range, wait until you see the coins still to come. The best and the most unbelievable stories are still ahead. Next up, we have the 20160 Jefferson nickel, and here's where things get really surprising. A coin this modern? From just a few years ago, most people laugh at the idea that it could be worth more than a few cents. But collectors know better. Hidden in the massive production of the Denver Mint in 2016 are some coins so rare, so perfectly struck, or carrying such bizarre errors that their values have soared into shocking territory. We're talking six figures for a nickel that most people would never give a second look. Let's set the scene. In 2016, the Denver Mint produced well over 1 billion nickels. That's right, more than 1 billion. With numbers like that, you'd think they'd be the least valuable coins on the planet. And in average circulated condition, the kind you'd see in your change at the grocery store, scratched, worn, maybe with a little discoloration, it's worth exactly 5 cents. Nothing special. But here's where the magic begins. Collectors crave perfection, and when perfection combines with rarity, that's when values explode. High-grade 20160 nickels that never entered circulation, showing blazing mint luster, and zero scratches, already bring in hundreds of dollars in mint state 67. Push that up into Ms. 68 or higher, and you're looking at thousands. But the real shock comes from full-step examples. The Monticello steps on the reverse are the holy grail for nickel collectors, and even in the modern era, perfectly struck steps are tough to find. When a 2016D shows razor-sharp full steps with no breaks, the value skyrockets. Some numismatists believe that flawless, top-graded full-step 2016D nickels could command upwards of $350,000 if the right bidders square off at auction. Imagine that a coin you could have spent on a candy bar less than a decade ago suddenly worth as much as a house. And then come the errors, and this is where the 2016D gets wild. Denver produced so many coins that year that quality control slipped, and dramatic minting mistakes slipped through. Off-center strikes where Jefferson's portrait slides toward the rim, struck through errors where grease or debris erased part of the design, double dies that make the date or lettering look ghostly and double. And the rarest of all, nickels struck on the wrong planchet, like a dime or foreign coin. Blank. These mistakes are jaw-droppingly rare, and when one surfaces, collectors battle hard. Some of these error coins have already sold for tens of thousands, and the boldest examples push towards six figures. Think about that for a moment. You might have handled one of these very coins without even realizing it. Paid for coffee, fed a parking meter, dropped it into a tip jar. Meanwhile, that same coin could have been a once-in-a-lifetime rarity worth hundreds of thousands. That's the thrill and the heartbreak of modern coin collecting. Fortune can slip right through your fingers in the form of ordinary-looking change. The 2016 Jefferson nickel is the perfect reminder that treasure doesn't always come in dusty old coins from the 1800s. Sometimes it's hiding in the very coins minted in our own lifetime. So don't ever overlook a modern nickel. Check those steps. Look for strange errors, because the next coin you dismiss as too new might just change your life. And here's the kicker: we're not even close to the most valuable Jefferson nickels yet. If a 2016D, fresh out of modern circulation, can shock the market with values over $300,000, just wait until you see what's coming up next. The stories and the prices are only going to get crazier from here. Moving on, we have the 1981D Jefferson nickel, a coin that at first glance feels like nothing more than everyday pocket change from the early 80s. Worn, dull, Jefferson's cheeks smoothed down, Monticello's steps barely visible. That's what most circulated examples look like. But here's the part that will stop you in your tracks. Certain 1981D nickels have stunned collectors with values soaring into the six-figure range. Yes, a simple coin from the Reagan era can be worth more than a luxury car, or even more than your retirement savings. Let's dig into the story. The Denver Mint struck over 364 million nickels in 1981. That's hundreds of millions, flooding into circulation, rattling through vending machines, toll booths, and change jars across the country. With a mintage this massive, you'd expect the coin to be as common as they come, and for most of them, in average circulated condition, that's true. They're worth face value, 5 cents. But collectors know something the average person doesn't. Not all nickels are created equal. Here's the key. In circulated condition, the 1981D may only bring a small premium if the coin has nice eye appeal, maybe $1 or $2. But when you move into mint state grades, the story changes fast. Uncirculated examples with blazing luster, sharp details, and minimal marks can be worth hundreds. When you push up into Ms. 66 or Ms. 67 territory, you're now talking thousands. These high-grade coins are tough to find because the Denver Mint's quality in 1981 wasn't the strongest, leading to weak strikes and worn dies. But the real shocker, the true jackpot, comes with full-step nickels. Full steps means you can see every single line on Monticello's steps, sharp and uninterrupted. For 1981D, that's incredibly rare. Most nickels from this year show flattened steps, weak detail, and poor definition. A flawless full step 1981D is a unicorn in the hobby. When they appear, collectors lose their minds, and the bidding wars begin. A perfectly struck full step 1981D has been estimated at values pushing into the $325,000 plus range. That's not a typo. A nickel that looks worthless in one hand can transform into a fortune in the other. And then, of course, there are the errors. The 1981D has surfaced with some jaw-dropping mistakes. Off-center strikes where part of Jefferson's face is cut off. Double die verses where the date, lettering, or even parts of Monticello appear doubled and bold. Struck through grease. Errors that leave blank patches in the design. And the crown jewel wrong planchet errors. Imagine a nickel struck on a dime blank, thinner, and completely bizarre. These unique errors are one-of-a-kind treasures, with auction results in the tens of thousands and the boldest examples pushing six figures. Think about this for a moment. Millions of us handled these very coins in the 80s. You might have used one for an arcade game, paid a bus fare, or tossed it into a tip jar without a second thought. But if you'd held onto the right 1981D, in pristine condition or with a spectacular error, today you could be sitting on a life-changing treasure. That's the wild beauty of coin collecting. Something ordinary, something everyone else overlooks, suddenly transforms into a prize that collectors are desperate to own. The 1981D Jefferson nickel proves that even coins from the late 20th century can rival the values of historic rarities. From the 1800s.so, the next time you're flipping through your change, don't ignore the nickels from the 80s, especially the 1981D. Look closely at Monticello's steps. Check the date and lettering for signs of doubling, because your everyday nickel could be hiding a story and a value that will blow your mind. And remember, this is only one stop on our countdown. If the 1981D can bring $325,000 or more under the right conditions, wait until you see the nickels still to come. The values are climbing, and the shock factor is about to go through the roof. Next up, we have the 1995P Jefferson nickel, and this one is a sleeper hit that most people never even think about. To the untrained eye, it looks like nothing special. A mid-90s coin, worn down from years of circulation, Jefferson's portrait flattened, Monticello's steps practically invisible. Most folks would toss it in a change jar and forget it. But here's the jaw-dropper. The 1995P has shocked the coin world with rare examples, bringing staggering values, and yes, we're talking six figures for what looks like an ordinary nickel. Start with the basics. In 1995, the Philadelphia Mint produced over 776 million Jefferson nickels. With numbers that high, you'd expect every single one to be as common as sand. And in circulated condition, most are exactly that. Worth face value, just 5 cents. But coin collecting is all about condition and rarity, and when you zoom in on the details, the 1995P hides some unbelievable surprises. First, let's talk condition. In circulated grades, these coins usually aren't worth much more than a nickel. But when you move into uncirculated condition coins that never saw the inside of a vending machine or pocket, the value rises quickly. Shiny, high-grade examples with clean surfaces and full luster can bring hundreds. Push into the highest mint state grades, Ms. 67 and above, and you're now talking thousands. But here's where the 1995P gets truly wild. The full step designation is the ultimate prize. On Monticello, the steps are almost always mushy and weak. In 1995, strikes. The Philadelphia Mint had notorious striking issues that year, and strong detail is extremely rare. A true full step 1995P with sharp, complete steps, no breaks, and perfect definition is almost mythical. When one shows up, collectors absolutely lose their minds. Experts estimate that a flawless full step 1995P in top mint state condition could easily break $350,000 at auction. That's right, a nickel from the mid-90s commanding more than the value of a luxury home. And we haven't even touched on the errors. The 1995P has produced some wild ones. Off-center strikes, sometimes so extreme that half of Jefferson's face is missing. Double die verses, where the date and lettering appear bold and double. Even rare planchet errors, nickels struck on dime blanks or foreign metal, which look completely wrong, but are incredibly valuable. These error coins are collector magnets, with the more dramatic examples fetching tens of thousands, and the rarest pushing into that jaw-dropping six-figure range. Think about it for a moment. This was the mid-90s. Gas was just over $1 a gallon. Payphones were still everywhere, and you could buy a candy bar with one of these nickels. Millions of us handled them every single day without thinking twice. But now, the right 1995p could be the kind of coin that changes your life. A 5-cent piece you once spent at the corner store might now pay for your retirement. That's the magic of coin collecting, the thrill of discovery. The idea that treasure is hiding in the most ordinary of places. And the 1995p Jefferson nickel is living proof that modern coins can carry shocking value when rarity and perfection align. So the next time you spot a 1995p in your change, don't just toss it aside. Take a close look. Check the steps of Monticello. Inspect for doubling or striking errors, because you might be holding a 6-figure rarity without even realizing it. And here's the kicker: as shocking as the 1995p is, the coin still ahead on this list will leave you stunned. If a mid-90s nickel can reach over $350,000, just wait until you see the treasures we still have to uncover. Next up, we have the 1993D Jefferson nickel, and this one is the definition of a hidden gem. To most people, it's nothing more than a 5-cent piece from the early 90s, tossed in a coin jar or spent without a second thought. In circulated condition, Jefferson's portrait is usually worn, the cheekbones flat, Monticello's steps nearly invisible. But don't let that fool you. This coin has shocked the collecting world, with rare examples bringing jaw-dropping values that push into 6 figures. Here's the setup. The Denver Mint struck over 462 million nickels in 1993. With numbers like that, you'd expect the coin to be one of the most common in the series. And in ordinary circulated condition, that's true, they're worth 5 cents. Maybe a small premium to someone building a year set. But the truth is, only a tiny fraction of these coins survived with the kind of details collectors crave. That's where the story gets exciting. And circulated 1993D nickels with blazing mint luster and sharp details are surprisingly tough to find. The Denver Mint's presses in the early 90s often produced weak strikes, meaning Jefferson's hair and Monticello's steps were not fully defined. So when a coin escapes circulation in pristine mint state 66 or 67, collectors go into overdrive. These beauties have already sold for well over $10,000, not bad for a coin most people would overlook. But then comes the ultimate prize, the full-step 1993D nickel. A true full-step coin shows every line on Monticello's steps with no breaks or flattening, something nearly impossible to find from this year. These nickels are the holy grail for Jefferson collectors, and when one surfaces, the bidding wars get fierce. Experts estimate that a flawless full-step 1993D in Ms. 67 or higher could hammer for more than $325,000. That's right, a nickel from 1993, worth more than many luxury homes. And if that doesn't shock you, the error coins will. The 1993D has been found with spectacular minting mistakes, double dies that make the date and lettering jump right off the coin, off-center strikes where Jefferson's face drifts toward the rim, and even wrong planchet errors where nickels were struck on dime or penny blanks. These dramatic rarities are one-of-a-kind treasures, with values soaring into the tens of thousands, and in extreme cases, nudging toward that 6-figure mark. Just stop and think about it. You might have handled one of these exact coins in the mid-90s, slipped it into a payphone, dropped it in a tip jar, or used it at the gas station when fuel was barely over $1 a gallon. To you, it was just 5 cents. To collectors today, it could have been a life-changing fortune hiding in plain sight. That's the thrill and the heartbreak of coin collecting. So here's the lesson. Never overlook a 1993D nickel, no matter how ordinary it seems. Check the steps. Look for doubling. Inspect for off-center strikes, because one of these coins could transform from pocket change into a 6-figure jackpot. And remember, this isn't even the most valuable Jefferson nickel on our list. If a 1993D can explode past $325,000, the coins we still have coming up will absolutely blow your mind. Moving on, we have the 1986p Jefferson nickel, and this is one of those coins that perfectly proves how deceptive pocket change can be. To most people, A circulated 1986p looks like nothing more than a worn-out nickel from the mid-80s. Jefferson's cheek is flat, his hair is faint, and Monticello on the back looks soft and almost melted. In this condition, it seems worthless beyond its 5-cent face value. But here's the shocking twist. Certain 1986p nickels have turned out to be worth absolutely staggering amounts of money, climbing into the six-figure range and beyond. Let's start with the numbers. The Philadelphia Mint struck over 459 million nickels in 1986. That's nearly 500 million coins everywhere, in every pocket, every cash register, every vending machine. With that many made, the assumption is that none could possibly be rare. But rarity doesn't always come from how many were minted. It comes from how many survived in the right condition, and for the 1986p, that number is tiny. In circulated grades, most of these coins aren't worth much. A worn 1986p usually trades hands for 5 or 10 cents to someone filling a collection folder. But once you step into uncirculated territory, the story changes fast. A sharp, uncirculated example with brilliant luster and minimal contact marks can bring hundreds. Push that to Ms. 66 or higher, and suddenly, you're talking thousands. But here's where the real shocker lies: the full-step designation. Full-step Jefferson nickels are among the most coveted coins in all of U.S. numismatics. And for 1986p, a true full-step example is incredibly rare. The Philadelphia Mint struggled with weak strikes during this era, and most coins left the presses with mushy, incomplete steps on Monticello. Finding a coin where those steps are razor-sharp, uninterrupted, and perfectly defined is like striking gold. Collectors go absolutely wild when one surfaces. Experts have placed estimates on a flawless full-step 1986p reaching values north of $350,000. Yes, $350,000 for a coin from the mid-80s that most people would never think twice about. And then come the errors. The 1986p has been discovered with some jaw-dropping mint mistakes. Off-center strikes where Jefferson's portrait drifts dramatically toward the edge. Double die obverses where the date and lettering appear doubled, bold, and ghostly. Struck through. Grease errors that leave parts of Monticello missing. And in the rarest cases, wrong planchet errors, a nickel struck on a dime blank, thinner and smaller than normal. Each of these errors turns an ordinary coin into a unique, one-of-a-kind treasure. Some of these mistakes have sold for tens of thousands, and the most dramatic examples push straight into that six-figure club. Think about it. In 1986, Ronald Reagan was president, gasoline was under $1 a gallon, and millions of us handle these very coins every day. You may have used one for an arcade game, to pay a toll, or to grab a cup of coffee. But if you'd held onto the right one, the rare full step or error variety, today you could be sitting on a fortune worth more than a brand new home. That's the thrill and the danger of coin collecting. Fortune can slip right through your fingers, disguised as a simple nickel. So the next time you come across a 1986p nickel, don't ignore it. Look closely. Check the Monticello steps. Inspect for doubling or striking flaws. Because hiding in your change could be a coin worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. And here's the wild part: the countdown isn't finished yet. If a 1986p can climb into the $350,000 range, just wait until you see the Jefferson nickels still ahead. Each one brings more shock, more rarity, and more jaw-dropping value than the last. Next up, we have the 2014D Jefferson nickel, and this one is a modern stunner. At first glance, a 2014 nickel feels far too new to be worth anything. After all, it's barely been in circulation for a decade. In circulated condition, Jefferson's portrait is dulled, Monticello's steps are weak, and it looks like nothing more than pocket change. But here's where the shock factor hits hard. Certain 2014D nickels, in the right condition, or with dramatic mint errors, have fetched values that will leave you speechless, soaring into the six-figure range. Let's rewind for a moment. In 2014, the Denver Mint churned out well over 1 billion nickels. With numbers like that, you'd think they couldn't possibly be rare. And yes, Most circulated examples are worth exactly 5 cents, maybe a dime to a casual collector. But rarity doesn't come from the mintage alone. It comes from condition, strike quality, and those freak minting errors that slipped through unnoticed. And that's where the 2014D becomes a true hidden treasure. Start with condition. Most nickels struck in 2014 show weak detail on Monticello steps, scratches from handling, and no shine left at all. But when one survives untouched, in pristine mint state, things get interesting. High-grade examples in Ms. 67, or better already, command thousands of dollars. But the real prize, the one collectors dream about, is the elusive full-step designation. Full-step nickels from 2014D are incredibly tough to come by. Out of the billions struck, only a handful display razor-sharp, fully separated steps on Monticello. These are the crown jewels of modern Jefferson nickels. Collectors will fight tooth and nail for them, because they know how few exist. Experts estimate that a perfect, full-step 2014D in Ms. 68 or higher could sell for over $350,000 at auction. Imagine that a coin you might have used at a soda machine just a few years ago now worth as much as a house. And then we get to the errors, and this is where things get jaw-dropping. The 2014D has produced some wild mint mistakes. Off-center strikes where Jefferson's portrait is shifted so far that half the coin is blank. Double die errors, where the date and lettering appear bold and double. Struck through grease errors that leave parts of Monticello missing. And the most mind-blowing of all, wrong planchet errors, where nickels were struck on dime, or even foreign coin blanks. These bizarre and unique errors can fetch tens of thousands, with the most dramatic pieces pushing into six-figure territory. Think about it. This coin is modern. Most people dismiss it immediately. You've probably spent dozens of them without a second thought. At a coffee shop, a drive-thru, or tossing it into a tip jar. But what if one of those nickels was a rare full step or dramatic error coin? You could have let a six-figure treasure slip right through your fingers. That's the thrill of coin collecting. Treasure doesn't always hide in the oldest, dustiest coins from the 1800s. Sometimes it's right here, in a nickel from less than 10 years ago. The 2014D Jefferson nickel is living proof that modern coins can carry shocking value, rivaling the greatest rarities of the past. So the next time you see a 2014D nickel in your change, don't laugh it off as too new. Look closer. Check the steps. Look for doubling or striking flaws, because that little coin in your hand could be worth more than your car, more than your savings, maybe even more than your home. And here's the wild part, we still aren't finished. If a modern 2014D can bring over $350,000, the last nickel in our countdown is going to leave you absolutely floored. And finally, we've reached the last coin in our countdown, the 2000D Jefferson nickel. At first glance, it looks like nothing special at all. In circulated condition, Jefferson's face is dull, the details are worn, and Monticello on the reverse is almost flat. Most people would glance at this coin and toss it into a change jar without a second thought. But here's the jaw-dropping truth. The 2000D nickel has shocked collectors with values so high, they rival the greatest rarities in US coinage. Now, let's set the stage. The Denver Mint struck over 700 million nickels in 2000. With a mintage that huge, you'd assume none could ever be valuable. But collectors know the real story. Rarity doesn't always come from how many were made. It comes from how many survived in pristine and circulated condition, and how many carry those elusive traits, like full steps or dramatic mint errors. And that's where the 2000D makes its mark. In circulated condition, most 2000D nickels are worth 5 cents, maybe a small premium if they're lightly worn. But when you move into mint state grades, the game changes. Uncirculated examples with blazing luster and sharp details can bring hundreds. At Ms. 67, the price shoots into the thousands. But here's the big shock. A true full step to 2000D Jefferson nickel with every step on Monticello sharply defined and unbroken is one of the holy grails of modern Jefferson nickels. These are nearly impossible to find, and when they appear, collectors go to war for them. Experts estimate that a flawless full step to 000D could bring over $375,000 at auction. Yes, a coin minted at the turn of the millennium, one you might have used in a vending machine, could now be worth nearly $400,000. And then come the errors. And oh, are they dramatic? The 2000D has produced off-center strikes where Jefferson's portrait is shifted almost completely off the coin. Double die errors where the date and lettering appear bold and double. Struck through grease errors that wipe away parts of Monticello. And in the rarest cases, wrong planchet errors. Nickels struck on penny or dime blanks. Lighter, thinner, and completely unique. These oddities drive collectors wild. Some have sold for tens of thousands, while the most spectacular push into six-figure territory. Think about this. The year 2000 was a milestone, the start of a new millennium. Millions of us handled these very nickels at the gas pump, at the grocery store, at a drive-through window. Most of them were spent and forgotten, but a tiny fraction carry that perfect strike or once-in-a-lifetime error. If you tucked one away today, you might be sitting on a treasure worth more than your entire retirement fund. And that's the beauty and the shock of coin collecting. What looks ordinary to the world can be priceless to those who know its secrets. The 2000D Jefferson nickel, hiding in plain sight, has proven that even modern coins can deliver life-changing value. So here we are, at the end of our countdown. From circulated 1977D nickels to the modern 2014D. All the way to this final 2000D, we've uncovered how everyday coins can hide six-figure fortunes. And here's the takeaway: never underestimate the change in your pocket. Check the steps. Look for doubling. Inspect for striking errors. Because the next nickel you dismiss might just be worth more than you ever imagined.